You might have seen that thing artists do when they take their pencils and close one of their eyes. That's not just an emote, that's real, and it's used to proportion the subject that you're trying to draw. The most basic form of proportioning is to compare the height of the subject with its length. When you're putting your pencil out in front, you'd place the tip of the pencil on one end of the height and your thumb to mark the other end. You then rotate the length you marked out and compare it to the length. This looks about this many times the size of the height. With digital art, this process is the same, except we don't use a pencil. Simply draw a straight line on a new layer to mark the length/height, whichever one you want to go with. On Clip Studio Paint, you can do this by holding the Shift button. After that, you can then rotate the line to compare it. Now we know how to do basic proportioning. That's great. Now, the vending machine example is pretty easy because the ratios are pretty much 1:1. But what if you have an object that is long? Like this tower fan, or even worse, a pencil. Our greatest weapon is now our greatest weakness. Well, it's better if we halve it to make it easier to proportion. This way you would only need to proportion half of it, and then if you want the full length, you would just double it. And if you have an object that is very long, you can just double it the same amount of times as you halved it. This is where we are going to get into advanced proportioning. And for advanced proportioning, we are going to need... This is a unit circle. And why this is useful is because it allows you to visualize the trigonometric ratios which will be useful for determining... You weren't listening, were you? And that's okay because you don't need to know all of that. All you need to know are these angles and these percentages. And here's why. Imagine a body with its arms out like this. If I point towards the camera, you're going to see 0% of my arm. Simple foreshortening. If I point perpendicular to the camera, you are going to see 100% of my arm. Also simple enough, I hope. If I point 45 degrees, which is half of 9 degrees, you might expect to see half of my arm, which makes sense, and is also not the case. What you actually see is roughly 70% of my arm, and if I point 60 degrees, you would see 86% of my arm. You will only see half of my arm if I point 30 degrees. If you wanted any other angle, the percentage of the arm you should show is in between them. If you know your trig ratios, then you probably know why this is the case, but if you don't, I'm going to try my best to explain this. I think it'd be easier to visualize if I show you from a bird's eye view. This is the body and this is the camera. If I point my arm perpendicular to the camera, you're going to be able to see 100% of my arm. If I move my arm 45 degrees from the camera, it's going to be 70% of its original length. You can do this for all the other angles as well. Here's 30 degrees and here's 60 degrees. This is one of the reasons why your proportions might look too short, because the length doesn't match with the angle that you're trying to draw. Start off by considering the angle and then use the corresponding proportions, and it's going to look more natural. And there you have it, some proportioning tips and tricks for everyone. If you like this video, that's good. I wish you luck in your art journey, and thank you for watching.